So a lot of the diets over the years when they did for years when they were touting the fat-free diet, I talked about that on a past show where during that span of time of doing that, there was epidemic gallbladder surgeries, with the gallbladders removed.
Right.
Then they came out with the, the fake fat. So yeah, that stuff is just, that's really, really terrible for your health. So adding 1 or 2 tablespoons of coconut oil to a smoothie is going to make it creamy and smooth. And then you get the added benefit of the good quality fats that your liver and your central nervous system need to function with.
Right.
People who make homemade popcorn on the stovetop or a hot air popper. I talked about on a show before that the number one worst toxic food that you can eat is microwaved popcorn.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
And,
because did you hear about that lawsuit that guy had made against against the popcorn company that made the bags? Because he ate something like 3 bags a day for 20 some odd years, and he got cancer from it.
Yes, the chemical that was in it.
Okay, now.
But he probably got it from the microwave. You stop and think that popcorn is soft and it's porous.
But you eat 3 bags a day, every day, 365 days a year.
Something's wrong. Something's going to be wrong with you.
Right?
Yeah.
But can you blame the popcorn maker for that?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's something you got to take personal responsibility somewhere.
You really need to take a look at yourself and practice a little control.
Right.
Hot air poppers have been around for a long time, and they're great, and the popcorn tastes really good. But now the thing is you've got to make sure that the popcorn that you're buying is not genetically modified.
Right.
So, that's another thing. I mean, we really have to be our own advocate. We have to educate ourselves. Don't plan on the media. I mean,
right.
We just had in Colorado, we had the labeling. The law for labeling genetically modified foods was voted down, and there was only like $500,000 that was spent in trying to get the information out to people about the particular ballot issue that everybody was going to vote on, and about genetically modified foods. So there was just like $500,000 or so that was spent, but there was like millions and millions and millions and millions and millions to create this smoke screen to keep everybody confused.
Right.
And they did a good job of it.
Sure. And you can go onto Spreaker.com, look under the Kingdom of Healing, and Kim Mateo does talk about that, and she does outline how much money was really spent by those companies. Man, that was ridiculous.
I think it was like 12 or 16 million in ads. So, and this was something that came up in quite a few states because people are demanding it. So, it really does boil down to that we need to support our local farmers. We need to support the food co-ops where they have a variety of different farmers and people who are raising naturally raised, beef and pork and chickens and buffalo and lamb and turkeys. And we want to support those people,
right? Because
they're ethical in the way that they treat the animal humanely. They don't have, seeds of death. If you go on YouTube and watch the documentary, it's a couple hours long on seeds of death. It is just, if you're not believing everything that I'm trying to share with you, I'm going to tell you something. If you could make it through that 2 hours, I think that what you'll do is you'll probably you'll do about 15 minutes of it, and you'll kind of stomp around and shake your head and go, wow, I can't believe this, and then go back to it. Watch another 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and you're like, how can this happen? Why? What is this all about? Why would this be allowed into the food?
Right.
And, you make it to that 2 hours, and I'm telling you, you're looking out your window, and you're looking at your backyard in a whole different way.
Wow.
I'm
going to have to go watch it.
It's
Seeds of Death?
Seeds of Death.
Okay.
On YouTube. And, you're going to be looking at every possible way. Forget mowing the grass next year. Forget the grass. You're going to be wanting to be planting a garden for your family. And, by doing so, we have a family that live up the street from us, and wonderful Mormon family, and they have 8 children. And, he kind of kept coming over during the summertime. We've got a lot of extra. We've been canning and freezing, and, there's plenty. And so I would go up there, and he would like give me a box of just all this wonderful organic produce, and their whole backyard, and it's really not a huge backyard, but it's a wonderful use of space.
Oh, you can come up with some great plans online for raised beds and little space. And you're talking hundreds of pounds of food can be grown in just a small amount of space.
Yeah, it's true. And they put up food to make sure that they have a year's supply of food in the event that there is something catastrophic or a famine. It's one of the things that they do make sure that there is enough food that they don't have to worry about their family starving.
And I think that's just a good idea, even if
it's a wonderful idea, and it's really it's something that and it was something that was very common with farmers and the farm wife.
Right.
It would the harvest from the garden. It was plenty of jams and salsas and sauces and things just all made up and jarred. And so that was something that was very common when I was growing up. And I remember one of the things my grandmother and my great grandmother and her sisters would do. And I grew up in the Little Italy area of Omaha, Nebraska, and in a lot of those backyards were the great big long, picnic tables and portable tables and stuff. And they would put out on there a white linen tablecloth, and then they would take the harvest of all the tomatoes, and they would just smash those tomatoes up with their hands. They'd wash them. And of course, they were all being grown in just this wonderful black, nutrient-rich soil.
Right.
And that was all organic then. They weren't spraying anything down. My great-great-grandma and my great-grandma, they always had different kinds of flowers and stuff, marigold and peppermint and cayenne and, things like that growing alongside of the other produce that was growing, because it kept the rabbits out of there. It kept bugs and stuff, from getting into that garden area and destroying the food that was growing. But what they would do on those long tables, and they called it srathu, and it's kind of like we buy tomato paste. Well, they were making their own tomato paste. And so they would put all of those, squish up tomatoes that they would just, a lot of times, they would just smash with their hands. And they drizzle a little olive oil over it, and there would be fresh basil growing and fresh parsley growing. And they would get that all chopped up, and that would be sprinkled over that. And then they would lay another cloth over it and let that for a couple of days bake in the Nebraska sun and the humidity. and then they would take that off, and they would take the cloth off of it, and they would drizzle a little more olive oil on it, and then they would just kind of roll it up and knead it around and smash it up real good and get it as smooth as they could, and they spread it all back out again, and this time, maybe they're throwing garlic over it, and some more sweet basil and some more parsley, and after a couple of weeks of doing this, and this is all it's lost all the moisture, all the water from the tomato is out of it, and they have this wonderful paste that they would just like roll into these like softball sizes balls, and keep those in the refrigerator. And then when they would be making a big pot of spaghetti sauce with fresh tomatoes and things to thicken that up, they would grab off the size of maybe a golf ball. If you get a small pot, so you're pulling off the size of about a marble. But if you got a good old pot going, that's maybe a 4-gallon pot, which, you walked into any of, my grandma's house or any of my friends' grandma's houses, their nanas, they always had a big old pot of spaghetti sauce going, and then they always had a big old pot of soup going, and that soup was always things that were harvested fresh out of the garden. It was wonderful. And so they would just take this from this softball size of they'd have lots of softball sizes rolls of this strato, and take that little marble size off, or a golf ball size if you got the big old huge pot, and put that into there, and it helped with thickening it. Maybe they put a couple of them in there, but I'll tell you, it made all the difference in the world in the finished flavor of that big pot of sauce. So it was just something that it was that little extra added ingredient that just took it over the top, and just you just went away going, wow, it's like yummy, but my grandma's sauce.
Satisfied.
You left satisfied, and and it's like, I'm Italian. I don't eat at Italian restaurants. I don't like jarred spaghetti sauce. I mean, it's just one of those things that I think that when you come from, you're raised with really awesome quality ethnic food. It's probably the same with other nationalities. Right. That if you're Hispanic, you probably don't eat at Mexican restaurants.
Right.
You're not happy with it. You walk away going, that wasn't.
'Cause I make my own.
It wasn't worth the money.
Tomato sauce and pizza sauce and spaghetti sauce as well. And I've done it for so long that my daughter don't even like jarred.
Right.
So and she can tell the difference. And you can't get it past her.
That's right. Exactly. You can't. And the other thing. So with the kind of got sidetracked on that, but kind of back to the air popped popcorn, or making it if you're going to pop it on the stove. Use the coconut oil to pop the popcorn, like how we made popcorn when we were kids. The other thing is you can take the popcorn. You can take that already popped, fresh, air popped corn, and drizzle a little coconut oil over that with some Himalayan salt. The pink salt.
Right.
I prefer the Himalayan salt. It doesn't, on the pH chart, it's not acidic like table salt is. And even sea salt can be